Roll for Crit here at PAX Unplugged. I am sitting next to Tim Virnig, brand ambassador for Thunderworks Games, producer of a lot of great titles, including, of course, the Role Player series, which you can see some of right there on the table next to us.
There they are,
with the Steel of Excellence right there sticking out for us. We're big fans of all these games. If you could run through maybe what is it about this series, some of these games, the newest ones, that you think makes them stand out, makes them feel special?
Well, so I think the Role Player universe, the reason that it really resonates with a lot of gamers is a lot of us probably have come from RPG or playing Dungeons and Dragons and other RPG games. Maybe when we were in school. Keith, the designer and head of Thunderworks Games, came from that kind of background, and Role Player was all about the best part of a RPG campaign, rolling up your character. So why not make a game that is all about making that character, the min-maxing and your dump stat and all that good stuff. So Role Player, I think, really took off because people enjoyed that. But then it's a gamer's game as well because, of course, there's the puzzle element, trying to get the dice in the right location, the numbers in the right order, the colors in the right place. And then the universe that Keith built around it. So the artwork is very specific and very evocative of the fantasy theme, and people really like that. So when we expanded the universe and we said, let's maybe find some other games that we can fit into them, but they're not the same. Of course, the Monsters and Minions expansion, and we just finished a very successful Kickstarter for the second expansion,
Fiends and Familiars.
Thank you, Fiends and Familiars.
I'm here for you to help.
Yeah.
I'm available for hire also if you need me.
That was, those are all tied into Role Player, but why not have some games that were different, but for people that know the universe will really enjoy? So that's where Lockup and Cartographers came from. So Cartographers is you are making the map of your RPG, right? You're creating the world in which your heroes and the monsters live. And it's part of that new kind of hot flip and right, roll and right kind of game. And we just seem to have struck at exactly the right time. And when this came out, we didn't even kickstart it. It was just a pre-order. We thought, well, it'll kind of be out there and maybe it'll sell a few copies. Well, I mean, it just exceeded all expectations. People really love it. You can play between 1 and up to 100 people as long as you have a pencil and a map paper for them. And it's a game that anybody can play. Really easy to do.
Yeah, that's a great quality of these roll and write games for sure.
And then Lockup was our kind of hat tip to sort of a Euro-style game. Ironically, whereas Role Player is all about dice, Lockup has no dice in it at all. It is simply worker placement, bidding, area majority, resource collection, mix-up, mash-up. Just take a little bit of all of those different kinds of mechanisms and put them together. And it plays pretty fast. 4 or 5 players can play in about 60 to maybe 90 minutes. So it doesn't overstay its welcome. But people really enjoy the kind of different mechanisms of that game as well. But the artwork is the same. So rather than playing the hero in Role Player, in Lockup, now you're playing the minions from the Monsters and Minions locked up in prison, trying to get that prison cred. Whoever has the most reputation at the end is the winner, and the story goes, get a chance to go into the arena and fight for their freedom.
Now, are we going to see maybe a sequel game where you get to do that? Little tease?
Yeah, so I'll give you a little bit of a sneak peek.
Okay.
So we do have some pretty good things coming in 2020. So first of all, we're going to be releasing a follow-up to Cartographers that is going to be a standalone, but can be mixed and matched with Cartographers with some different maps and cards. And so that'll be coming, and we're going to release some map packs as well with different terrains on them, like a volcano. We're going to do an island, just to kind of make that a little bit more difficult, and some shapes that are a little bit different. But let's talk about the big one. So in 2020, Kickstarter is coming, Role Player Adventures. So this is the culmination of the role player universe. We're going to take the heroes that you've created in role player, the same ones that fought the monsters in Monsters and Minions, the same ones that had the familiars and dealt with the fiends and familiars, and you're going to go into a campaign style, choose your own adventure. So there will be adventure books for each of the scenarios. Depending on the choices that you make, you will turn to a certain page and something will happen that will change the game. So every time you play it, it will be different. And the dice will still be in the game because of course we want the dice. The dice will be if you have a skill check or something else that you're trying to do, fight a monster or something, you will have to roll the dice and place them in certain places to get that skill check to kill the monster or to achieve whatever the goal is.
Now, this is the first I've ever heard of this.
Yes.
And I don't know if you saw my eyes light up, but that sounds so cool because we love this series and the aesthetic and the idea of it, and storytelling games and things like that are some of my favorites.
Yeah. So I always just kind of liken it to, I say if role player and if you know the Ryan Lockett game, Near and Far, it's kind of like role player and Near and Far had a baby. I mean, it's kind of a combination of both of those. It has that adventure. I mean, it's going to feel like Lord of the Rings. It's going to be huge, right? You're going to be able to go through and do a campaign and really develop the storyline. So I think it'll be the culmination of the role player universe. And the great thing is that it has a lot of expandability because we can just keep making adventures and just keep putting books out. There's been some talk. We've been throwing it around. Keith has toyed with the ideas. You know what? Maybe the final thing. Maybe we can turn role player into an RPG.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great?
Role player.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be amazing? Yeah. That'd be pretty meta. But we're thinking about doing it.
And I wonder, all these games have very different mechanisms, very different genres. I wonder if you can talk a little bit about design-wise, how do you approach? Do you set out and say, we want a new role-player game, what should it be? Or do you find a design and say, this makes sense in the role-player world?
So it really depends. I mean, so Keith is the designer of role-player and the role-player expansions, but the role-player universe, Stan, the designer of Lockup, is a neighbor of ours in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and has worked with Keith before. They know each other through different designer forums and the Protospiel groups that meet in Wisconsin. And when we were looking for something that was a little different, at first it was like, this one's so different. Is it really too different?
Yeah.
But in reality, it seemed to fit in. And we thought, again, to be able to mix and match something that's similar in the theme, but uses totally different mechanism to appeal to different kind of gamers. Maybe people that don't like dice, even though there's lots of ways to mitigate dice rolls in role player, but some people just hate dice, or as we say, dice hate them. So we want something now. Lockup has no dice, so it's really all about the strategy, the placement of the workers, and so forth. And Cartographers was just really actually was a different theme when we were first pitched it, and Keith saw a way to change the theme and to fit it into the role player universe and call it a role player tale. Now we've gotten some other games that people have come to Keith and asked, hey, can we retheme this into a role player tale? And we don't want to do everything in the role player tale. We're not just a one-hit wonder. We're not going to just do everything role player. Obviously, we've had some other games that are totally different than role player. We have Dual Powers, which is a two-player kind of Twilight Struggle light game with cards, and then Keith designed Skulk Hollow, which is a two-player Heroes versus Monster game. So these are games that have different themes, not part of role player.
Yeah, it is remarkable how even the role player series is very different, but they all feel kind of a piece. Yeah. I think partially because just how strong you said that the artwork and the cohesive look and feel of them all is. But yeah, all your other titles are really cool as well.
Yeah, it's being able to have the same artists and illustrators and graphic designers in the projects to be able to stay with that same kind of feeling throughout all of the games. So we've been really lucky to be able to do that.
Among the role player series, do you have a particular favorite, or maybe one that you're the best at?
Man, you're like asking a parent who their favorite child is.
Sorry, you got to make a choice.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I really love them all, but I do have a special place in my heart for role player with the Monsters and Minions expansion. I think the reason that I like it so much is that I do like role player base with just the puzzle of the dice, but when you add the Monsters and Minions in, now all of a sudden you have another option. You can go and fight those minions and then get a challenge to try to defeat the big monster at the end. It just feels like the RPG kind of trope, right? You roll up your character, now you go and fight some stuff, right? It just feels so satisfying. So I think that'd probably be my favorite. But then you throw in Fiends and Familiars, and all of a sudden there's more in it. And the great thing is that Keith's very specific about these expansions. They cannot add additional time. Nobody wants expansions that take a game that should be 60 minutes and turn into a 2-hour, 3-hour game. When you add the 2 other expansions, the game remains the same length of time, 60 to 90 minutes, but it just gives you more choices.
Yeah, that's
and
definitely good.
More cool dice.
That's the important thing.
Fiends and Familiars, now we have split die that have 2 colors on them using 2 choices. It's pretty unique.
Yeah, definitely when we added in Monsters and Minions, we felt like, oh, this is how we want to play this game.
Yeah.
Like, it adds all this, it's just perfect stuff, but like you said, doesn't add too much additional extra complexity, so you're not overwhelmed. And really looking forward to trying Fiends and Familiars as well.
Well, since you asked me, I have to ask you, what would you say Roll for Crit's favorite Thunderworks Games title is?
Yeah, we share a little bit of a namesake there.
Yeah.
Well, now, we haven't spent as much time with the newer ones, but Lockup definitely has some very cool mechanics.
It does, doesn't it?
I'd probably have to default. I mean, we certainly spend the most time with Role Player.
Yeah.
Probably I'll just steal your answer
Right.
and say Role Player with Monsters and Minions at this point. But given more time with the other entries, I could see that answer flipping on a rotating basis, probably.
I mean, not only because obviously I'm the brand ambassador, so I'm always pitching the games and talking to people about the games, but honestly, I always keep all of them in my bag, and it depends on the situation and who I'm playing with, but it's fun to have a different game to pull out. Maybe you just have a few minutes and maybe you have some family or non-gamers, you get out cartographers. Maybe you have people that really like Euros that don't like dice, you get out Lockup. Maybe you get some people that are really into they love to pull out all the colored die and roll them and see all that. You get out Role Player, or you get out the expansions, and so there's something for everybody. Just like every parent has, children that are totally different with different strengths. That's the reason we like them all.
I'm still looking forward to someday. There was one game of Role Player where I took a photograph, that's what they're called, of my final character. It was like this cool frog.
Yes.
I'm like, someday I'm going to use this in an RPG because I think he's awesome.
Yep.
I'm going to bring that build over. So
Yes.
if you make that RPG for us,
that's the goal,
I'll save him.
right? To be able to have the sheets and be able to put that down on a sheet and carry them from adventure to adventure.
Certainly more fun way to build your character than in a regular RPG is to play a Role Player.
Right. And to be able to take it and keep building on it, keep adding it. And then, like you said, pull it out and share it with people. We have people that'll bring out the sheets and show them, hey, look at the character that I rolled up. So it's fun.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for talking to us. It's the Role Player series from Thunderworks Games, and you guys have plenty of other titles out there.
Yeah.
Like you said, Skull Hollow, Dual Powers.
Go to the website, thunderworksgames.com. Check us out on all the usual social media places and see what we have out there, and give them a try.
Absolutely.
And as we always say, just keep rolling high and, critical rolls, of course.
There's no better way to go out than that right there. So this is Roll for Crit at PAX Unplugged. Thanks for watching.
Catch the latest from Roll for Crit by liking and subscribing and supporting us on Patreon.
You're not a hidden traitor, are you? Come on, like us.